President Bola Tinubu met with some critical stakeholders on the ECOWAS intervention in the crisis in Niger Republic. The delegation, headed by Nigerian former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar, was at the presidential villa to brief the president on the latest demand of the Niger junta. President Tinubu is chairman of the Authority of the Heads of States and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Niger's coup leader had proposed a 3-year transition of power after meeting a delegation of West African leaders and warned that any attack on the country will not be a walk in the park for those involved. Speaking to State House reporters, General Abdulsalami said the meeting with President Tinubu formed part of efforts to see a way of settling the political crisis after the military overthrew the democratically elected president in Niger. Have a look at it.
As you are aware, the ECOWAS heads of state have made me an envoy to Niger Republic, and over the weekend we were there to see the military people and discuss to find the way out of the lacuna we find ourselves. So that's why I'm here this afternoon, together with the president of the ECOWAS Commission, to give a report back to Mr. President on our discussion in Niger. I must say that our visit to Niger has been very fruitful in that it has opened an avenue to start talking, and hopefully we will get somewhere. Well, like I said, we started talking. We made their own points, and then I made my report to the chairman of the ECOWAS heads of state and president. He will now consult with his colleagues, and then the ding-dong starts, and we'll get somewhere, hopefully. Hopefully, diplomacy will see the better of this thing. Nobody wants to go to war. It doesn't pay anybody, but then again, you know, our leaders have said if all fails, and I don't think all will fail, we'll get somewhere. We'll get out of this mess.
Also, the African Union declared that Niger Republic will be excluded from its activities until State President Mohamed Bazoum is reinstated. Bazoum was removed from power in a military takeover on July 26 and has been held in custody since then. The AU made this announcement through a statement released on Tuesday and reiterated its demand for the military junta to release Bazoum and return to their military barracks. Furthermore, the AU urged its member nations and the global community to avoid taking actions that may give credibility to the junta and strongly disapproves of any interference from external actors or countries beyond the African continent. Recall that ECOWAS had announced readiness to deploy standby force to Niger as last resort when all diplomatic moves failed. And elsewhere, former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diazani Alison Madueke, has been charged with bribery by British police. The suspect accepted bribes in exchange for awarding lucrative oil and gas contracts during her time in office as Minister of Petroleum during former President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. She also served as the president of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, during that time. The charges mark a significant step in a complex international investigation, according to Andy Kelly, head of the National Crime Agency's International Corruption Unit. British authorities allege that Alison Madueke misused her power in Nigeria and gained financial rewards from awarding multi-million-pound contracts. The National Crime Agency, NCA, disclosed that the accusations involved over 100 million pounds in cash, chauffeur-driven cars, private jet flights, luxury vacations for her family, and the use of multiple London properties. Additionally, the charges detail rewards like furniture, property renovation, staff for her residences, payment of private school fees, and gifts from high-end designer shops, among others. The former minister is scheduled to appear in Westminster Magistrates Court on October 2 this year. She has faced allegations of corruption since leaving office, although she denied the charges and even filed a lawsuit against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, where she claims that EFCC's accusations were false and malicious, seeking 100 million naira in damages and a public apology for alleged reputational damage. Viewers, this is Daily Politics, and I'm your host, Hamza Idris. As you know, President Tinubu inaugurated his cabinet on Monday, August 20, and since then, Nigerians have been reeling out expectations and agendas based on the state of the nation. Therefore, tonight on the program, we'll be looking at some of the expectations and also projections into the foreseeable future with regards to how the cabinet can achieve the renewed hope agenda of the president. And joining me to do this, I have in the studio Baba Yusuf, a strategist and policy analyst and the CEO of Global Investment and Trade Company. We have joining us virtually Dr. Murtala Adogi Mohammed. He is also a policy analyst and the founder, System Strategy and Policy Lab. He joins us from Kano. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. Mohammed, are you with us?
Thank you.
All right, welcome. How is the weather in Kano?
Thank you for having us.
Yes, welcome, Mohammed.
And good evening, Nigerian.
All right, fine.
Fine. I think it's about to rain with high humidity, so we are struggling to manage with the weather.
All right,
so
good.
far.
Welcome to Daily Politics. Baba, I think we should start with our guest. He's first appearing on this program. Yes. Dr. Murtala, we've seen your package. I mean, your expectations from President Tinubu's ministers. You say 5 low-hanging fruits. Can you mention them, please?
Basically, when Mr. President announced the 48 ministers, before subsequently they dropped 3 to the number of 45. I come up with 5 low-hanging fruits, and I strongly recommend them to the first one to be being able to identify a strong, head-headed technical team to work with. Okay. As a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for you to deliver reform and results, you need to basically have a technical team to work with. So the first in the 5 low-hanging fruit is the technical team to work with. The second one is being familiar with the strategic document that we have in Nigeria. We have what we call the African Agenda 2063.
Okay.
And also we have what we call the Nigerian Agenda 2050. And we have the Nigerian Agenda 2021-2025. And so every minister is expected to develop its own strategic plan from this overall national plan. So it's very important to ensure that as a minister, you develop this strategic plan. Then number 3 is the governance result delivery unit. There is no way you can be able to track and monitor your performance and measure your result if you don't have the governance result unit. That is the number 3. Then the number 4 is the ability for the minister to understand the civil service system, because it's not going to work in isolation. It's going to work with civil servants. So you need to seriously understand the civil servant and have a better picture of how they work, on how you should be able to relate with them, and also, and lastly, its ability to communicate the result and reform. If you are working, governance is a serious business that cannot just be left in the hands of government people alone. You need to develop a communication strategy as a minister. Whatever you achieve, you should be able to share with the world. Let Nigerians and other parts of the world understand what you are doing and how you are delivering results.
All right.
So
Thank you
in
very
summary,
much.
this is the 5 low-hanging fruits that I emphasized on. And I think it's very important. We should ensure that almost all the ministers have this low-hanging fruits.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, thank you, Dr. Adogi from Kano. We'll come back to you because I have seen Baba Yusuf also smiling, most likely in agreement with some of the points or all of the points you raised. Baba, you have had Dr. Adogi, who joins us from Kano. He said low-hanging fruits. He listed 5. Assembling an egg-headed technical team, working with strategic documents, results delivery unit, communicate results, and then managing civil servants. I found this 5th one, managing civil servants, very germane. And I want you to comment on that. Okay. But before then, do you agree with all these things he mentioned? 5 low-hanging fruits, or you have addition to them?
Yeah, very good perspective by Doctor. But I think the low-hanging fruits now would be from the point of view of the enablement of the ministers to perform.
Okay.
I think the low-hanging fruits in this
So
case,
we'll add it as the 6th one.
That will not be from, no, those he mentioned are okay, but low-hanging fruits to enable the ministers to hit the ground running and be performance-driven or result-oriented. Now, the low-hanging fruits also to be looked at will be the outcomes of all this he mentioned, harnessed by the ministers to deliver what? Good governance, to deliver what? The mandate given by Mr. President. And then depending on the ministry now, the outcomes will be reflected based on the ministry. All the ministries will have different outcomes based on the portfolios. For example, defense will not have the same low-hanging fruits with finance, for example, or solid minerals. But it's very essential he brought this out as a kind of
And this
advice.
captures his 2nd point, which is working with strategic documents.
Yes.
Since most likely all the ministries, including the new ones, they will have, you know, strategic documents that, okay, this is what we are planning to achieve. So they should work with that.
Yes, but to add to that now, to answer that first question of the last one, working with civil servants, which is very critical. I think it's a critical success factor. I think I will, to coin it for Doctor, I would rather call these critical success factors. I think over and above low-hanging fruits. Essentially what he is saying is, if you don't have the civil servants on the same page with you as the minister, there is issue.
They will
and
sabotage
because
you.
of the, what do I call it now, complicated nature of civil service, for those that are the first hands on the job as ministers, for example, it will be a kind of tricky one for them to understand the nuances of civil service and to understand the nuances of the Nigerian factor. Right? But essentially what he said is true. Whether you are an old hand like the likes of Governor Johnson Wike, who was a minister before and he's coming back as a minister again, he also reiterated it actually yesterday.
They call him FCT landlord.
Yes, when he said the civil servants, he knows them and all that. I think is for the ministers, what Doctor is trying to say is to be very, very careful to understand the dynamics and mechanics of civil service so that they don't run into what I call the entrapment of conspiracy, you know, of the establishment.
All right.
So fantastic,
Thank you.
know, in that regard.
All right, maybe I should go back to you, Doctor. Still on the civil service, you know, these ministers are coming at a critical time. A lot to do, but at the same time, quite a number of challenges on ground. I'm interested in the civil service because recently, the Office of the Head of Service issued a circular, and this is going to consume over 1,000 directors. It says that any director who has spent at least 8 years has to give way because the RNI is stagnated. How do you think purging of these competent civil servants will, in one way or the other, affect service delivery for the ministers?
Yes, even though the line is fluctuating, but basically to me, I think it's a fantastic idea for the civil servant to go in the director position after 8 years. But for institutional memory, we might need some of them, and I don't know why the policy is coming at this critical time, but for the sake of institutional memory, it would be good to have those that have the knowledge, the experience, the skills, and the understanding of how the programs and policy at the civil service works.
Yeah.
So for a brand new minister, that is coming, admitting a new director, except the PAMSEC is already old in the system, that's fine. It's going to be a bit complicated, but to be realistic with you, the civil service landscape in Nigeria is saturated and complicated. But moving forward, there must be a means in which, before we retire those that spend the 8 years, we should be able to have a hand of button where they will transfer some skills and experience and knowledge and some values to the ones that are coming. That will really help. And just sending people that are away after spending 8 years in director position. That transition should happen to the deputy directors that are coming. Have a better understanding, because the quality is dropping. As the way the quality of our education is dropping, as the quality of education is dropping, quality of civil servant we have is also dropping gradually. So the old one that we have in the system are very important. We should have them, but if they are going, we should have a well-designed system of a kind of transition, and that transition will really help and make them to work better. Thank you.
Good. Baba, how do you strike a balance now? The ministers assembling eggheads to work with them vis-a-vis utilizing the pool of civil servants that we have, because you see some of these ministers maybe coming along with quite a number of aides, those without technical know-how, just for political compensation and all that, at the detriment of the system, because they are going to pay them hugely compared to what the civil servants are actually drawing from the government purses.
Hamza, there are two ways to do this, or it is done. I believe there's a standard operating procedure provision. A minister that comes on board, there's a specific number of aides that have to be drawn from civil service for him, ab initio. For example, the press secretaries, spokespersons, and all that. So I know that there are some key functions around them that are by default drawn from the civil service, especially from the ministry, from that core ministry that the minister is going. Then the second layer is for any minister that wants to succeed, especially those that have technocratic background. They will draw from outside eggheads, technocrats, specialists, especially specialists in that that sector they are going to drive, to bring them in to add value. Because, you know, civil service is bureaucratic, civil service is slow to adopting changes and trends, so they bring in these professionals to add value. And most of the value performance-driven ministers actually come with those kind of technocrats. Now, to bridge that gap you mentioned, you have ministers also that are most highly political in nature. And those are the people you are talking about. Now they come with the settlement entitlement ab initio, with a troop of people that have no value to add in that ministry or to the minister himself. But I think the key point here is the head of the Federal Executive Council, and that is the president of the country. How, for example, we've heard he has read to them in a way a riot act today, you know, yesterday after the swearing in, and he has basically told them, look, it is about performance, it's about integrity, it's about delivery. I carry those three keywords from his speech. Now, if that is the case, it will work well for a minister. I think all of them I know are senior enough to understand that this may not be business as usual with this president, especially when you compare with the last 8 years. And therefore, this has a president that is high level of situational awareness with regards to driving governance from the private sector, from the public sector, and from the consultancy angle. So this is a gentleman that is a president that is looking at you from a dashboard perspective. Ministers will now know that it's either they now go and pack those, you know, people, hang arounds, or get serious people to come and complement the civil servants in that system to deliver. I reckon this administration, except something drastic happens to the personality of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I see a cabinet shake-up before 4 years if people are not delivering.
Good cabinet shake-up. Dr. Adogie, I want you to come in here when your third point, which is result delivery unit. how do you want it to function? And should it come with carrot and stick to say, okay, within 6 months, if you are unable to deliver, you will be shown the way out?
I strongly agree, and I like what Baba said. Man Sagir, you see, the most important thing here is that I hope and pray we will see the Tinubu that we are expecting to see all this well, because I begin to worry with the caliber of people he assembled as a minister. I begin to worry because to be realistic to some extent, I expect to see more technocrats than the conventional civil servants. But you know, politics, one hardly understands some of the way these guys are going. We've seen some of the governors that even felt that they are state level, but they are here, minister, fine. But the governance delivery unit will help them to monitor and measure and track performance. And at System Strategy and Policy Lab, we assist governors and ministers and top government officials to set up the GDU, the governance delivery unit. It's a system, or it's a dashboard. I had Baba mentioning dashboard earlier. It's a dashboard system whereby you track and monitor all the money you are spending in line with the result you are achieving, and you are publishing in your dashboard every month. So that helps the minister, the PAMSEC, and all directors to have a monthly review meeting and look at the dashboard critically and ask some questions. Looking at this dashboard, we're supposed to construct 50 hospitals per month in under Ministry of Health. How many were we able to put on ground? That is the essence of the result delivery. It helps me to track performance. It enhances productivity, and also emphasize the need for value for money. So enhance performance, enhance delivery, and emphasize the need for value for money. So it's always very important for every minister to have a governance delivery unit in his office that will help him to track his performance, measure his result in line with what he planned he said he's going to achieve at the early part of the year. And let me tell you one thing, inability of a minister to show result, it might not be even up to 1 year, or maybe after 1 year, Mr. President might decide to sack some of these ministers if they are not really delivering. It's going to be highly competitive. I don't know. I hope and pray it should be. Thank you.
All right. Baba, is it all bad, the composition of the ministers? Or we have quite a number that are good and in some places not properly placed? Because I'm sure almost all of them, they have their pedigree, but some maybe not enough to be ministers.
Thank you for that correction, to say there's no bad person in terms of the people. Issues of the only concern is about issues of some kind of gray areas around integrity, which is a very key factor in selecting people to this kind of highest office of the land. But by and large, there are people that have pedigrees. There are people that have been there, done that in the various sectors of their endeavor. That being said, they are here based on a process or on a selection process that has placed them constitutionally, to say they can take this position. But to be honest, there was high level of expectation based on the condition we have found ourselves in this country and the time Mr. President is coming and the personality of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So the quality, you are expected to get in terms of technocratic prowess, in terms of even the political acumen of these people, or records in terms of delivering goods, dividends of democracy where they have been holding political office, were expected. But then again, it's Mr. President. He has that prerogative to choose people he is going to work with. He knows them better than we do in terms of those reasons he chose. That being said, we have a cabinet in place. I have what I call a mix of people that are highly technocratic and some people that are technocrats that also have a blend of governance and politics, like Wike, for example, like Omahi, for example, and the likes of Badaru, who is a businessman and also, a politician and all that. And we'll have likes of
Wale. He will go to commerce or something like that. But
people thought that because that would have been more of round pegs in round holes. But I'll come to that when we discuss the issue of defense. We have likes of Wale Edun. We have the likes of Professor Pate. Fantastic. We have also a round peg and round hole in the person of Muhammad Yusuf Toga, a thoroughbred diplomat, that is, manning that ministry. So we have a mix of, people that are, and we have also a mix of what I call the new kids on the block. Young generation between the bracket of 35 to 45, 46, holding critical portfolios. Minister of Water Resources, Humanitarian, Tijani Bosun, you know, you can go on and on, Beta Edu, Hanat Musawa.
Yes.
Now, these are the, you know, the new kids on the block, and they come with so much energy, so much zeal, and I call freshness in this cabinet. We want to see it in delivery. We want them to represent to you, to show that they are worth that call. And we want to see them, you know, leading in delivery because they have the energy, they have the and they have less baggages, you know, in terms of politics and all that.
All right, thank you. We have 2 minutes or less to go for break, and I want to have your take, Dr. Adogi, as to whether there will be overlapping roles in some of the ministries. And you should do this in less than 2 minutes, please.
Once again, I think I noticed innovation appear twice.
Okay.
Innovation appear twice. There's a Minister of Science, Innovation and Technology, and if you look at Tijani Bosun portfolio, it says Ministry of Digital Economy, Innovation, and Communication. So there is going to be overlapping on who is going to supervise innovation in Nigeria, because innovation appeared twice. And I think the earlier the better, Mr. President, clearly defined the line and come up with job description that fits each of these ministers, that will reduce the level of crisis and conflict around the overlapping aspect that has to do with innovation. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Murtala, we want to thank you very much for joining the program, and we'll let you go. While once again, thank you most warmly for your informed perspective in the course of this program.
I really and also sincerely appreciate the invitation, and I wish all the best. We'll do more again next time. Thank you. Bye and have a good day.
Thank you. And viewers, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, conversations continue with Baba Yusuf. Don't go away.
That's great.
Welcome back. If you are just joining, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Still having the studio, Baba Yusuf, policy analyst and CEO of Global Investment and Trade Company. Once again, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
I think we should move to UK now. Shockingly, we saw news that authorities there have fixed a date to parade Diazani. How did you receive this news after such a long time?
Well, first of all, I won't hide the fact that I'm a bit surprised. I won't hide it because over time, some of us are saying that the bane of the corruption, the rot of corruption in Africa is promoted by the Western powers, much as they, are all about the corruption index and all that transparency. But we are also advocating that the Western countries should also be weighted with regards to how they inadvertently or deliberately, anchor and support these, people that siphon our money to their countries. They rather feed large on it and now, play the ostrich. So it's good we are having this kind of things coming up. And then we will also see that, okay, if, for example, it was called a witch hunt some years ago, we can see obviously it's not a witch hunt. And this coming for me today is a gift, not because I have anything against this, Madam Diazani Alison Madueke, but because if anything, it is it may signal, it may underline, signal a kind of warning sign for the new cabinet to say, hey, you can see.
Oh, is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, the long arms of the law can always...
No matter how long.
Yes, and so whatever you do now, you should know that, like we always say as students of law, criminal acts are not statute bad. Most criminal acts in most countries in the world are not statute bad.
Even if they are buried in a shallow grave or deep grave,
statute bad means they don't have expiry date. So when somebody raises an issue of criminality and you think you have you have covered it up, so long as you don't have proper closure on that, it can come up any other time. It's not statute bad. You know, so this is a welcome information in terms of the fight against corruption. But then that is on the outside.
Yes.
Will that deter people, really? Because there has been no effective, what I call consequence management in this country. People that have committed crimes, how did they end? You know, although we have a legal system that is very slow, but we also have an entire country with a system that is corrupt. So people would rather, you know what, amass wealth as much as you can and then split the money into 2 or 3.
Yeah.
One portion should be kept as a war chest to fight the legal battle until God knows how.
Maybe half of the other one for plea bargain.
Plea bargain, and then you are good to go. And then you can even contest office and become the one that will attack some other people. So it's a welcome development in terms of the war against corruption. You heard the issues you know she has, which is very, very embarrassing for me as a Nigerian.
Yeah, while researching, you know, I saw this PBS News Hour segment, you know, which quoted British officials long ago that she organized diversion of over 28 billion, which is slightly above what former CBN governor and 14th emir of Kano, Sunusi Lamido Sunu, said 20 billion got missing under her watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you can see. You know, so I just hope that people will learn. You saw recently also another matter was raised against Governor Ibori, the former governor of Delta again. Last month, we the same UK raised that issue.
But why now? Because while discussing this, you know, in the newsroom earlier in the day, someone said that she was planning to come back home.
Okay.
You know, this is actually the flip side of what you said, that she's planning to come back home. Most likely, she thinks it's a sanctuary now, that she can be free. Buhari is gone. For 8 years, she has been away, maybe, and that is why UK now said, look, you have some issues.
That is the issue about criminality and crime. You need to deal with it. You need to have closure with it, Hamza. You see it like you rightly said. Maybe she's homesick. Maybe she's tired of running. You know, for people that think they can run away from the law, even if you can do that in this world, remember there's a hereafter. And even in this world, until the day you go back to your God, it's still haunting you. Look at Thaksin Shinawatra of Taiwan, of Thailand, sorry.
Okay.
You know, I think yesterday or so, he went back to Thailand. No, he's one of the best presidents Thailand has ever had. Revolutionary, transformative. But because of this corruption issue, you know, there's about 15 years jail term hanging on him. After all these years staying and living in Dubai, he had to go back.
Oh, he was
on arrival,
sick.
I think they have worked out an arrangement on arrival. But Thailand is not Nigeria. Even with the arrangement, he has gone to serve 8 years in jail. He has started his term, but you can see the massive support he got in the airport. Why? Because he actually delivered. But then corruption remains an issue, and
the system says you must pay a price.
Exactly. So we hope we will get there, because unless there's consequence management, Hamza, we can talk as much as we want. Corruption will continue. People will rather go this way, steal money, run away for 10 years, arrange, come back, and maybe two years, you know, and it's a walk on the treadmill.
Now, she had the audacity to drag EFCC to court. Looking for 100 million, right? Damages. Now, do you think EFCC will, or federal government will talk to UK to say, look, instead of trying her there, we have bigger charges back home. Allow her to come, you know, so that she can come and face the charges?
With all due respect to our system, I don't think they will. In fairness to them, they also know that we have a corrupt, quote unquote, largely corrupt system, not entirely, but largely so, and we demonstrate it in our actions, dispositions, and all that. And they know that there's a high level of politics. She's a political figure. She's a politically exposed person. And they believe that the issues they raised against her are issues of crime committed on the soil of the United Kingdom. So I think they would like to go the whole hog with that. And maybe after that they can, because for Nigeria now to come and say, hey, let her be extradited. Well, it could be done. But it's highly unlikely that the United Kingdom.
Because some of these people with corruption allegations, they feel that if they are back home, they will have soft landing.
Yes, but you see...
And we have this system of plea bargain, as I mentioned.
But you see, for her, in the past 8 years or so, she had been, having a tug of war with the same institutions that may give her that soft landing, quote and unquote. Now, like you mentioned, she has sued EFCC, claiming damages and all that. How can she now correct that and still be able to achieve that which you are talking with regards to the plea bargain and get a soft landing? Well, no, you cannot say anything can happen in the space of politics, especially when you bring in politics.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think UK would like to go with that process, all through.
Why are our leaders, Nigerian leaders, obsessed with tribalities? If you look at the lineup of the charges against her, like in October 2009, even the Senate indicted her of 1.2 billion, which she put into a private account of a toll company without due process and in breach of concession agreement and all that. And you remember, they said bra,
Hermes bags,
yes, and all that.
And...
Look at how they were displayed, that all these were her possessions. Look at the houses in Lagos, houses in Abuja, and all that. Is it a mental issue for people to amass wealth that they can't even remember?
Like I said earlier, I felt embarrassed when the UK government was reeling out the list of those items, which we already heard before, but this is how we look out there.
Like I remember, that time some of her handlers, they said no, it was not true.
Yeah,
it was some people who framed up all those allegations and all that. But here,
that is the good thing with the truth, Hamza. No matter how long, the truth will come out. No matter how you mask the lies, and they will be unveiled. You see, the issue is like Madam Fadida Odile said, the former EFCC chair, that she believes, these people that are going to run political office need to undergo psychological evaluation. But the thing is, if that will happen, it has to happen to a chunk of Nigerians, almost all of us. Is an erosion of the value system in this country, Hamza. We are talking about designing now because she's the one in the eyes of the storm.
Yes, it's just like Abacha, who, he died, and that was why quite a number of issues around him.
We can easily say that. You can say from in the last 10 years, you without mentioning name, know that there were people that were on this side claiming holier than thou, claiming they are critics against government, claiming that they are activists. But they have been given opportunities, and we have seen how they have done worse than the people they criticize.
Yeah.
It's a terrible societal ill issue that needs to be dealt with right from the home. Like I said, is an erosion of the value system. It's a failure of what I call the leadership value chain. It's easy for us to say, Mr. President, he's failed, he is this, he is that, the governor is this. I'll bet maybe when I'm given that opportunity, I will do worse than that. The quest for material things has permeated our religious institutions, traditional institutions, our homes. Even at home, nobody wants to know. Most parents don't want to know how you make it. They call it you make it. Just go and make it.
They just want
if you are a political office holder, the question they will ask you, or what they will give you as a mandate, go and do something for us, quote and unquote. That mentality from home, from traditional institution, from religious institution, is what drives us as a people. And that is the key issue. Students in school are inculcating that, is permeating the competitiveness of the peer pressure. Somebody's daddy bought her this, you too, you want to buy that. That is the kind of society we are breeding. This is the kind of people we are becoming. And then on the flip side, because of the hypocrisy of our expectations, we will say we want the best, we want saints and angels to lead us. Traffic light we don't follow.
Yeah.
We don't even pay our bills. But yet we want angels and saints to be our governors and presidents. And then we'll go back to them and demand things that we know, if they give us in our hearts, they actually stole the money to give us.
Sadly, even though the president has read ground rules for them during their swearing in, yesterday. What do you think the media, civil society, should emphasize in the next couple of days for the ministers and for the incoming board chairmen and board members? Because there will be more than 2,000 appointments, right?
Yes.
You know, board chairmen,
yes.
members,
yes.
and all that. Quite a number of agencies of government. What should we emphasize so that these people can just tarry a while, even if it's just for 1 year or 2 years, to deliver services and take Nigeria out of the woods?
Nigerians should know that change that we want can only come if we start with ourselves. If we first of all start with ourselves in whatever we do.
So not to mount pressure, right?
Who are we? The citizens of this country.
Yeah.
We are the civil servants. We are the clerk in the office. We are the accountant. We are the MD. We are the GM. We are the director. We are the PAMSEC. Collectively, that is what I call the leadership value chain. Now, you talked about some pressure groups.
Yes.
For example, the civil societies and all that. I know there are some prominent ones that are trying to track governance and try to hold them to account.
And their voices are really hard, yeah.
And they have very high voices and they've been trying to do. Now, we expect upscaling of that and expansion of that scope now. And also the timelines of their feedback mechanism and action to be shorter so that we put these people on their toes, maybe quarterly, maybe half yearly, and the pressure to be higher. But for also the people to understand that civil societies alone cannot deliver for them. You see how they will arrest somebody on allegation, even though it remains an allegation. Before you know, it is given religious or ethnic connotation. They have arrested our son. Leave him alone. Even when the evidences are so compelling, you decide to give it a coloration. This is the kind of country we are living in. No matter how bad, whatever you do, so long as you have a bag of money, you can change people's perception or outlook to issues. And that is the issue. So Nigerians should decide what they want. Do they want the real change? And that real change comes with responsibility on our part as citizens as well, and guide our expectations, going forward. While the civil societies should be less political, I see a lot of the civil society organizations also becoming politicized, becoming special purpose vehicles for politicians. And they clearly know what I'm talking about. So let's see more transparency, even on the part of the civil societies, and the NGOs and whatever you call
and even the media.
And the media now, the media has been also in cahoots with what is going on in Nigeria because they are part of Nigeria.
Yeah, with the exception of Daily Trust.
With the exception of Daily Trust and a lot of others. But you see, the problem with rot, Hamza, is that, like they say, one bad apple,
it permeates,
spoils the whole lot. Now, sadly, for the likes of Media Trust and others that have upstanding quality of integrity, holding the fifth outside of the realm up till now, they need to ensure that that ethical standard that they represent is upheld. You understand? The same should go to the Nigerian Bar Association and every other professional body to ensure that, because we are all part of the leadership value chain that aid and abet, consciously or subconsciously, this thing. So the media should play also the role of sounding louder, to be more dogged, not just Media Trust. Let us have more dogged and tenacious
we
media
should keep
houses
our searchlight,
and beam their searchlight and shout out loud and continue being brave.
All right, thank you, Baba. I think we should quickly move to Niger. You had Abdisalami. I pick one word from what you told journalists at the villa. The lacuna. Lacuna we found ourselves in Niger. It's like ECOWAS is still hammering on taking power back to Bazoum. But the junta there is actually adamant. 3 years. And now AU has also slammed its own version of, embargo and all that. How do we get out of this complicated matter?
It is very obvious that there are unseen hands that are playing this game. They triggered this game and they are orchestrating a lot of things. I wrote a column last week, Friday, on this, and I have been loud and clear about it to re-echo.
Your back page, right?
Yes, my back page on the Nation. And I've been very clear about re-echoing the voices of others that are urging Mr. President as chairman of ECOWAS and all the leaders of ECOWAS, even though we know some of them will never listen to us because we know why, that this route of military action should be avoided as much as possible. President Abdusalam Abubakar, former president or head of state, mentioned it in a very paradoxical, in a very using paradox to say it, right? To say in a parable way. He said it in a parable. He was trying to mention that area, and this is a general.
Yes.
Listen, let me just dimension this for us a little bit. Northern Nigeria, so because we need to look at contextualize it from Nigeria first and then expand it. Nigeria is the chairman, currently the president of Nigeria is the chairman of ECOWAS. Secondly, Nigeria is the major funder of ECOWAS, about 75 to 80%, if I'm not wrong, to fund ECOWAS. Thirdly, with regards to Niger in this particular instance, we share over 1,600 kilometers borderline
from Sokoto to Borno.
Niger, more than any other country within this context. From Kebbi to Borno, 7 states of Nigeria, having about 55 million Nigerian citizens residing in that line. And then on the flip side of Niger, having a cumulative number of about 13 to 14 million people. So you have a cumulative number of immediate impact of about 70 million people. A relationship with northern Nigeria and Niger predates 500 years. It's over 500 years relationship. Now, as the saying goes, you know, an African proverb that says, what touches the nose has touched the eye. Already, the Nigerian Northern Enterprises Forum or something like that have shouted out loud.
Northern Elders Forum.
Yes, they are already Northern.
We have another Elders Forum, Iowa Consultative Forum.
This one is Northern Economic Forum. Sorry.
All right.
They are, you know, a group of traders and people that conduct business across the border and within northern Nigeria. And they have shouted out last week they are losing about 15 billion per month due to closure. Hamza, this morning, because I have contact with a lot of my grassroots people in Borno, I have people in Borno, and I spoke with one of my person there, and she was telling me that around that borderline where they are, there are families that have not eaten for 3 to 4 days.
Honestly, I went to my village last week. You know, at the weekend I was in Daura, and I've seen it.
Yes.
Because I went to Congolum. I have cousins, nephews.
This is what is, this is the not just you know already there was the vagaries of the multidimensional issue in Nigeria. This is coming at the time where we have over 133 million multidimensionally poor, out of which about 60% or 50% of those people are within that location. So what I'm saying is, we urge Mr. President to explore that avenue, because whatever happens,
that is diplomacy.
Yes, whatever military action happens now, to be honest, it will highly significantly impair the capacity of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to deliver what he has promised Nigeria.
Okay, finally, because we have run out of time, and I'm beginning to have this fear that the economic blockade will even do more damage than the warfare there, because people are already dying. People can't have access to hospital and all that. And just today, AU has
the irony
joined
of this,
into this. So what do we do? Finally, in less than 30 seconds.
Yes, the irony of this is that still Nigeria suffers more, and on the side of Nigerians that are the citizens, they should not be allowed to bear the brunt of this sanction. The sanction should be targeted at the junta, and the principal actors. But it appears we are punishing the Nigerian citizens for insisting that the status quo should be maintained or whatever, and it is highly unfair. We should try and see how our brothers and sisters in Niger should be, isolated or insulated from the vagaries of these sanctions, because as they are affecting them, they are affecting us too in Nigeria.
What is your last word to the junta there?
For the junta, sense should prevail. They should remember in 2010 or 11, there was a coup and people came out en masse to support the coup, including President Mohamed Bazoum, ironically. He was on the street raising placards, supporting the coup at that time. Let them know that karma may come back. I know they may have lofty ideas, but there's nothing better than democratic institutions. They've made their point, but they belong to the barracks, not the presidential villa.
Thank you very much, Baba Yusuf, policy analyst and CEO of Global Investment and Trade Company, for coming to the program and your informed perspective.
Thank you very much, Hamza.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also our special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, we thank you for watching. Bye-bye. I'm Hamza Idris.